was 12 or something, with my best friend at school, we're like, oh, we really want to make films. And I kind of, it got stuck in my head, and I just like didn't think otherwise. I was just like, it was from one thing to the other. I finished, high school, and then I went straight to, University of Film School in Barcelona, and it was like, at first I didn't know what I was doing or what I wanted to do in filmmaking. I was like, yeah, I like writing. I like, I would like to direct. One things of directing at first, but then when I was at film school, I was like, it's so beautiful to be a cinematographer. It's such a great job that I was just like blown away by it. And slowly but surely, I just became a cinematographer. Although I've been, I'm a filmmaker. I love every part of it. I also studied production and I directed a few short films and so on. But at the end of the day, I wanted to be a cinematographer,
Yeah.
and that's where I pursue the most.
So did you actually go into film school thinking you were going to be a director? Because that's what many people seem to do, and then they find their niche as they get in there.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of like, when you're watching films, you think the director does it all and it's the coolest job. But then when you get in film school, you also realize that first, it's very difficult to be a director. It takes a lot of, vision and a certain type of personality. It's also a speed thing, when you are a director, you are also not, you know, working all the time. You are not shooting all the time. You are just like creating, finding the project, and then editing. And it's a lot more, like, and not every personality is good for a director. So you kind of learn um, what you're best at. And I kind of realized that my personality was better in being a DP than being a director. But it's also like you try, and it's so difficult to be a director. It's such a skillful job and such a range of of skills that you have to be a director, that it didn't suit me as well as a DP. I think, I hope.
Yeah, fair enough. No, you're an amazing DP. I mean, that's out of the question. The amount of films that you've done in such a short space of time clearly represents that, I think. So what is it to you, what's so special about cinematography? What made you grow to love it, so to speak?
I think it's the best job in the world, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it's such a combination of creativity, but also there is a technical aspect to it. There is also it's people. It's interacting with people and have relationships with people, and working for the project. I don't know. It's like a combination of facts, but it's also the fact that you can travel, you can jump from a project to another in a short period of time, and you can be shooting a period piece, in February, and then shooting like a sci-fi in July. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that kind of versatile, and
Sorry.
also the sorry,
That's fine.
I just had an alarm. Um, and it's also this, and it's also this thing about being a DP, that it's like, it's you are very into the project. You are very close to the real action, with the actors, with the director, with the producer, with the writer, But at the same time, you are your responsibilities, what I mean, like, you don't dedicate your whole life to raise a project. It's like the projects come to you. So it's a lot easier. You just decide when the projects are green lit, you're going in there. So I don't know, it's like, I think it's a great job. You travel, you meet a lot of people, you
Yeah.
work with different personalities, different visions, different, it pays it pays
Yeah.
well. You can also shoot commercials and shoot movies, so you
Yeah.
can find your way into it. in music videos, so it's like kind of a good combination of a
Mm.
lot of things that I love, and
Yeah.
especially I love filmmaking, so what
Yeah.
can I do, it's just
I
that's what I
yeah,
do.
I agree. It's so creative cinematography, and I'm massively fascinated by it. I'm not hugely myself knowledgeable on it all, but I do find it absolutely fascinating. Just as, I like to ask this question a lot to people that come on. What was your favorite type of film? Even now, what's your favorite type of film and the favorite genre? And has that kind of like shaped the type of cinematography you do? Like, would you describe yourself as a certain type of cinematographer, or would you say that you do a wide range of cinematography in different films?
That's a good question. I mean, I think my favorite kind of film is it's not a genre, is when there is a director's voice, a strong director's voice and vision.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love the most. I don't care what genre it is. I don't care, if it's a comedy or a sci-fi or a horror.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a very strong director's voice that is creative, surprising, that is like different,
Mm-hmm.
that is strong but not too, like it's I really, really react to those kind of movies. I really, that's the kind of cinema I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy. That's the kind of cinema that made me want to be a filmmaker, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the kind of cinema I would love to do.
Mm-hmm.
And and yeah, and as my, my voice in cinematography, I think, I have a style. Obviously, I have a way of seeing things, but I
Mm-hmm.
think I also like to adapt to every script, every director, and be the right person, right
Mm-hmm.
hand person. It's like I kind of it's great to be, to have a very strong personality in filmmaking, but as a DP, I also, want to honor the script, to be as close to the characters and the
Mm-hmm.
storytelling as possible,
Mm-hmm.
but and not be only my voice. It's not my
Mm-hmm.
voice that's important. The
Yeah.
important voice is that the director, and obviously the ideal is that the director's voice and my voice are intertwined, and
Mm-hmm.
we create something. But it's so I try to change genres. I can try to change styles, trying to change looks
Mm-hmm.
in every movie I do. So just not to repeat myself, but also to honor the script, to honor the filmmakers.
Yeah. Cool. So would you say how it's massively important, the relationship between the director and the cinematographer? Like, you have to adapt to who you're working with, and then they've got to adapt to work with you to basically get on the same path to create the same vision, so to speak. So basically the question is, how is it important is that relationship for the movie?
I think it is very important. I think cinematography and directing go hand in hand. They are two of the strongest, voices in the set, and it's very, together with the actors, but because the script is already written and, there are changes on there, but like a set moves with a, director and a DP. And so it's like, I think, it's very important. It's not,
Mhm.
I think, editing is as well very important, and music is as well like massively important, obviously, apart from the obvious script and actors, but like I
Mhm.
think cinematography can elevate a movie very
Mhm.
easily to be something else. And I really look up at all those, relationships between directors and cinematographers that make the movie a lot more interesting, a lot more surprising, a lot more, more beautiful. It's like
Mhm.
obviously it's not needed. I don't think cinematography is like essential. Good cinematography is essential for a good movie.
Mhm.
No. I mean, there are cases where the cinematography is terrible, but the movie is so good that it doesn't matter. But it does help. It does elevate. It does do give itself. It's one of the pleasures of watching a movie, that
Yeah.
it's like well done, well crafted, well, you know full of, life, and that the story is told with images.
Mhm.
It is one of those things that we enjoy when we watch a movie.
I totally agree. I think that even for the hardcore cinema goers and for the people who are just casuals, I think everybody notices cinematography. If there's a beautiful film, everybody does notice that,
Exactly.
and certainly a lot of your films are massively really beautiful. They really are amazing. So to move on slightly to your first big film, from what I could tell, basically in Hollywood, was A Single Man in 2009, directed by Tom Ford, starred Colin Firth. So my first question about that is how did you get onto that film? Because from obviously I was just checking like what you've done in your career and things, and obviously you did previous things, but that was a huge film with a big director, and obviously Colin Firth is one of the biggest actors.
Yeah, it was a huge jump on my career. I've done two small films before, one TV show, at the
Mm-hmm.
BBC, But yeah, it was suddenly I was 27 and I was very lucky. I was very lucky, which it doesn't happen very often. And it's basically the story goes that I was I did a film with a friend of mine that is from North Wales, Edwards, and and we went to the Arctic Circle with him, and that film got selected at Edinburgh
Mm-hmm.
as one of the Trailblazers movies, and I went there to to show the film and so on, and then in the line of a cinema at 12 o'clock at night, after having watched five movies, I went to the sixth movie that day, and it was a surprise film. And the line on the queue, and I start talking to the person next to door to me that also, next to me, that it was also alone, and going to see a surprise movie. So, and we start chatting, and she happened to be a producer that had an amazing film called Billy the Kid, a documentary that it's a masterpiece. And we start chatting, and she knew a lot of the DPs. She was from New York, and we started chatting. We became friends after that, and after watching the movie, after hanging out a few times, and then like literally like a few months later, maybe a year later, I was passing by New York, and I met her for a coffee, and I gave her my showreel. Those times, that was 2007, 2008, and those times that were on DVD showreel, and I gave her my reel, and she's like, yeah, great, and then I was lucky enough that 5 days later they called her for a producer friend of hers from LA. um, that girl, by the way, is Cinematographer, who I adore. And the producer Bob Salerno called her, who was producing Tom Ford's movie, and said, "Look, we've been watching everyone's reel in LA, and we don't like it. We're looking for new ideas because Tom wants someone that is young, that is bold, that is like creative, that has a European European kind of artistry, and that is available and it can shoot fast and is not too expensive." And it was like and she was like, "Oh, you know what, you should have a look at this reel." So she sent my reel over, and Tom Ford watched it on a lunch break by luck, also because he was like bored at that point. And then he's like, watch it for 2 minutes, and straight, and it was like, I want this guy. If only I want this guy. And it's like, and with that same reel, I hadn't been working that much. I was not very, it was like having a mediocre, you know year in London with the same reel, but it just was in the right place in the right time, and it just like he loved it. He saw on my student film, like grainy 16
Mm,
mil handheld stuff. He saw something that he was not presented.
mm,
Like he was watching all these fancy American flashy DPs reel, and suddenly there was one that was like slightly different and
mm,
unconventional and
mhm,
European taste,
mm,
so they called me, and
mm,
I flew from London, to have a meeting, because he didn't want to have a Skype. And I flew from London to have a meeting, and I, read the script on the plane, and suddenly it was just like, wow, this script is amazing. Like,
yeah.
how am I, and then it's like, if Julian Moore is doing this and Colin
Yeah.
Firth is doing this, I mean, this is like pretty awesome, you know. And I was 27, you know, so these things don't happen. And I just
Mm,
suddenly was in LA, a car limousine picked me up. It was like kind of a bloody dream, you know. And
mm,
suddenly, it was quite funny as well that I was like, everything happened so fast that I hadn't had. I don't know if I should. That's very podcasty, but it's an
so
interesting story, and it is the fact that I had diarrhea for 4 days. You know, I got so scared. I was like, "What the fuck? My life is changing. If I get this movie, this is it. This is like my life changing here." So I got really scared for 4 days. I couldn't, you know, like think. It's like, you know, I was like, you know, and but that morning on that Friday that I was going to meet Tom, I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought of my grandfather, you know. And my
yeah.
grandfather always said that I'm called Edu because of my grandfather. It was
Hmm.
Eduardo, you know.
Hmm.
And so my grandfather always used to say that everyone in life has a chance, a
Mm,
possibility once in their life where
mm,
their life could totally change, and it's on them, you know. And it's on those people that can take that chance and make the most of that chance
mm,
are the ones who, you know, like they go up
mhm,
in their careers and in the way they see their life. So it's like and I thought about that on that day, on that morning,
mm.
and my diarrhea stopped, and I just went into the meeting, just like, you know what? I think I can do that. I have
Yeah.
to be myself, have to
Mhm,
trust who I am, and just be honest to, you know, not try to fake anything, just be straightforward and be, you know, be who I am in a
yeah.
way, and not try to hide much. You know,
Mm,
just if he likes me, he likes me. If he doesn't,
mhm,
it's because it's not meant to happen. So fair
mm.
enough, you know.
Yeah,
And
no,
that's
that's
how it went.
that's an amazing story. Um,
Yeah, and
it's
that's how I got.
yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, after 5 minutes of meeting me, it was like very clear that we like each other, and you
Mm.
know, and
Do you think
but
it?
I was in the right time in the right place at the same
Mm,
time, you know, because it was like, it's all about that, you know. Had I meet him, or had I had this real 10 weeks before, he would have said, oh, I think this is perfect, you know. But like,
mm,
it was like 6 weeks away from shooting, so he was getting nervous. He needed a DP, and he
yeah.
didn't like anyone, so it's like, you know what, I'm gonna take this chance. But also is this personality also, Tom, you know, to his credit, who in his right mind chooses a 27-year-old DP that doesn't have any credits to shoot you know, his first movie as
Mm,
a director,
mm,
big, you know, big gamble. With He was putting himself $5 million, and he was
mm,
the main producer, and you know, he had the balls, but the courage, but also like the vision, and the, you know, and the
mm,
clarity to just like, and the confidence on himself
mm,
to just like, look,
yeah.
I'm gonna go there. And there
Mm,
are not many directors like this. There are not many people that are like, they have that much trust, and
mm,
they just, you know, have that instinct, you know.
mm.
So, you know,
It,
fair.
it, well, it, it paid off because it's a very beautiful to watch film. And do you think it helped that you and it almost the way I see Tom Ford is quite an articulate, meticulous man. That's how he wants his films. And the way that I see your cinematography, just from my own perspective, it's like that. It's meticulous. It's grainy. It's very beautiful to watch. So do you think it helped that you guys, in terms of vision, kind of matched on that wavelength?
Absolutely, absolutely. We kind of got along in a personal level, but also an artistic level. You know, we kind of understood the script in a very similar way, and we have a very similar taste in a lot of things. Obviously, he's, you know, a lot more meticulous and more perfectionist than I am, and you know, I like life and imperfection a bit more than he does, you know.
Mm,
But we understood each other. We were talking the same language, and obviously it was a good. I mean, also everything happened very quickly. You know, you have to remember that this movie was $5 million,
mm,
23-day shoot. So it's like, you know, boom, boom, boom. You know,
mm-hmm,
and it's like but it was an incredible experience, and it obviously changed my life from then
mm-hmm,
on. You know, it's like there's not, you know, a month that happens without, when I don't, you know, when they don't hire me because of that movie as well. You know, like this is
mm,
one of the movies that changed my life, you know, and
mm.
the biggest jump for sure.
Yeah, cool. Great. And the movie itself, it's quite a lot of the color and the cinematography. It's quite desaturated almost. And then obviously when Colin Firth's character gets excited or there's that rush of color, obviously that's to do with the color grading and whatnot. But do you have to, as a cinematographer, visualize that while you're shooting to see how that's going to be portrayed on screen? Did you have to think about them things? Because obviously I've never seen a film do that before, like when that rush of color when someone like gets excited, Colin Firth's character. So did you, while you were shooting that, to think, how's this going to be looked at on screen?
I mean, to be honest, it was already on the script, that
Right.
fact, and you're right. It's kind of interesting to tell the story of a character, and how he sees life and how he emotes to what is happening to him, and do it through color. It's pretty, out there, brilliant in conceptually,
Mm-hmm.
but we obviously it's all done in the DI, so it's like. And we knew that saturation was one way of telling the story, as well. So at the end of the day, you shoot it, you don't have to think too much. Obviously you have to think, you have to put things that are colorful, so it changes. And and it was done in post, it was done in, which I always think that for me, for my, obviously Tom did it at the end and he's his scope, but like I wish it was a bit more subtle, a bit more
Mm-hmm.
less on the nose, and a bit more like a feeling that you don't know what had just happened. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
exactly, and you have to play back almost. It's a bit like, it's out there. It's pretty ballsy, but it's dumb, and I agree. It's a brilliant idea, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
brilliant path,
Mm-hmm.
to tell that story.
It's
It's
it's definitely very different to anything that I've seen before, and obviously it came out in 2009. It's certainly the first time. I think other films, I don't know if they've taken reference from A Single Man. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. But it's become a bit more common to see that, I think, and that was actually the first time that I'd seen something like that happen. So that was in 2009, and then in 2010 you go on to Buried. So how much time difference was there between these two films for you? Because obviously, like, you just got your big break with A Single Man, and then you then shooting another film with Ryan Reynolds in, and it's like it seems to be spaced in a couple of years. So how did that transition
actually, it was like, it was again being in the right place in the right time and being very lucky. And what happened is was also that like everyone in the film business in Spain, knew the story, or especially in Barcelona, knew the story of what happened to me with A
go? Mm-hmm.
Single Man. And although the movie hadn't come out yet, everyone knew. Oh, Tom Ford chose that guy from Barcelona to shoot his film. So suddenly, like, my status in Barcelona kind of raised, in a crazy way, and I was, people were talking about me and what happened, and suddenly it's also curious, interesting, like how I was trying to get work and I was not getting much work, and suddenly, you know, someone as far as Tom Ford has to come pick you up, and then suddenly work starts rushing towards
Mm-hmm.
you, and it was
Mm-hmm.
a bit, it was a bit like that, no one, everyone was like, oh, you're too young, oh, wait, or you don't have enough credits, and suddenly, literally, a few months later, Tom Ford picks me up, and then suddenly it's like, oh, everyone wants to shoot with me right now, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so it was a bit like this, but also I was very lucky, because the person, the DP who I admire, Xavi, who Xavi Jimenez, who was supposed to do Buried, he got a film as a director, and then they were actually like a few weeks away from shooting, maybe like 3 months away from shooting, and they didn't have a DP, so they is like, hey, what if we interview Edu, and I went there, and I had an amazing interview with them, the producer and the director, very, very talented, clever people,
Mm-hmm.
and I read the script and suddenly was like, what the heck? This is amazing. I mean, this is script, I've never read anything like this, and I would not ever read a movie as contained as Buried. I will never,
Mm.
yeah, because it's in a coffin. It doesn't get more contained than that. So I was like, such a challenge, but also it was also sending me like those kind of shivers down my
Mm.
spine, like of wow, this is a unique opportunity. It's a
Mm-hmm.
challenge. It's difficult, but there's also something that I really like about the script, the story, and the setup of having obviously Ryan Reynolds and a director as talented as Rodrigo Cortés,
Mm.
behind the camera as well. So the whole package was like, oh yeah, it's a movie that you shoot in. We shot again. I think it was 18 days. It was like
Right.
obviously it's in a coffin. It's on a set, so it's not the most complicated setup. But it was like a very fast movie. But it was like we were also very conscious that we were into something special. That
Mm.
we were something different and unique, and it will always be the movie in the coffin.
Mm.
There
Yeah.
was there's no other movie in the coffin that
Yeah.
is like all happens in a coffin. And so there was something very exciting and challenging about that movie, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how I got it.
Mm.
And we went. I mean, so I think like I shot in. I thought I shot in the summer that movie, and then literally 2 months later, A Single Man got released. So they
Right.
hadn't seen A Single Man. It was
Mm.
like all word of mouth,
Yeah.
and suddenly like so basically I did two very good movies in span of 1 year. That
Must
is like
that must have been so crazy to obviously, as you said, not getting much work and then to go to that.
yeah,
And
exactly. And
mm.
suddenly, truly, I mean, I was thinking, wow, making films,
Mm.
it's yeah, making good films is
Mm.
kind of easy, because I was like, I my first movie also like the Honor de Caballeria went to Cannes. I shot it when I was 23 and it was a very low budget, a small movie, and went to Cannes. And it's a good movie, a very
Mm-hmm.
artistic, very classic arty movie, but good. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
proud of it. It's very special. And
Mm.
it's like suddenly I done four movies, you know, and three of them were good.
Mm.
Were actually like I'm still they're on my top movies
Mm.
I've done ever. And I
Mm.
thought it was a lot easier. I thought
Mm.
it was movies is easy, and suddenly life tells you that it's not that easy.
Yeah.
Making a good film is very difficult. So I
Mm.
like I kind of I envy the time where I did four movies and three of them were good. It's
Yeah.
like for me now it's a lot more difficult. It's a lot,
Mm.
like I've done now, I think like 19 movies in total or
Mm.
something. And
Yeah.
I only think, seven of them are good. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
fair enough.
Like, so,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, not bad still, but
Yeah.
like, I still hope one day I will do one masterpiece. That's
Mm.
my whole aim is to get one masterpiece done in my life. But then
Uh,
it's making movies is such a difficult
mm.
path. It
Mm.
involves so many little details, so many people doing their job perfect
Mm.
or close to perfect,
Mm.
and also luck.
Mm.
There's a
Yeah.
bit of luck always
I,
involved.
I am sure you are your harshest critic, though. I mean, you're there's seven films. You said you've done 19 films. You say only seven are good. I'm sure that is not true. But
No, no,
that's
no, no. It's around there. It's around
yeah.
there. Like,
Fair.
and I think and they're again, it's like they are good because I consider a good film when it
Mm.
is what it wanted to be, what it
Yeah.
reaches the people that wanted to,
Mm.
and that's what I think. I think
Mm.
seven. Yeah, I
Fair
haven't
enough.
counted. I haven't counted, but still, look. If I've
Mm.
done, seven is pretty good. I'm pretty
Yeah.
happy
Yeah.
with having done seven, good movies at 39. So
Mm.
not having to say that they are not amazing. None of them is amazing yet.
Mm.
None of them is like, but it's a good path. I just want to
Mm.
do more. I just want
Yeah.
to have more chances.
Mm.
Because it's
Sorry, just to touch back on Buried for the
okay.
listeners who don't know, it
Okay.
is literally Ryan Reynolds in a coffin for 90 minutes. That is literally the film. So like, I'm really interested. Like, was it actually filmed him in a coffin for night? Like literally that all the scenes were shot with him in a literal coffin. It wasn't done with any like set design that he would feel a bit more comfortable. He was literally in a coffin.
Yeah, it's all for real in a coffin. You know, obviously we had, I think, like 7 different coffins, different sizes, different shapes. You know, so we could play and do tricks with the camera movements. You know, one of the coffins, for example, you know, you could move in and out all the walls. So you know, when we were doing a 360-degree shot, we'll be moving the walls as we, you know, as we go around. But they're walls, you know, you're seeing the walls. It's not like they're not created in post or anything. No, like we were moving the walls as we were rotating with the camera, you know, these kind of things, you know, like so it's very full of inventions and full of little you know, tricks, but it's, you know, it's very Hitchcockian, you know, film. I love it for that as well, you know. I think it's like, it's film at its essence, you know. It's like a filmmaker telling a story, and it's surprising and thrilling, and you know, a lot of different elements, you know. So
I agree. Like I remember watching it years ago when I was before I even like really got into film or whatever. And I find it quite amazing that I'm talking to the cinematographer of that exact film. It's quite amazing. But so while like I'm sure it was difficult to shoot, especially because you're in a coffin. Did you have to like talk to Reynolds at all about how where the lighting would be, like where the torch would be, and you had to visualize how this is going to be seen, so you have to tell him where's this going to go and how you want things. So is that what you had to do, almost coach him, so to speak?
well, I mean, I think, you know, Ryan Reynolds is an amazing actor. I think we don't, you know, especially back then. Actually, this was one of the reasons that he wanted to do this small movie in Spain. It was like because it was an acting roller coaster. It was like he wanted to prove to the world that he could, you know, be a leading guy and be a good actor, you know. Now obviously we all see him like that, you know, because he has become that. But like at that point he had done 1 or 2 films as a comedy guy lead, and you know, and no one thought he was an amazing actor. And having the privilege to see him act, it was unbelievable. You know, he is a really skillful, you know, actor. He's a really, you know, one of those persons that that can run a set, knows exactly. He's a super professional, but also very empathic guy. You know, one of those persons that everyone likes him on set. Everyone treats him with respect, but also we can all joke with him. But also he goes down and dirty on the set, and that's, you know, I remember one of the last scenes, you know, like when we were throwing him sand and covered his face, who never complains, like more. I mean, like we'll do the rehearsals and we'll have a guy stand in, you know, like with goggles, with a mask, and we were throwing shit at them, you know, and then, you know, he will clear, and then we'll bring Ryan Reynolds and throw the thing, but no goggles, nothing, just shit. And he would never complain. He was just like awesome to be working with him. And it was like, I also give him a lot of the credit for cinematography. He was actually, in regards of your question, it was like one of those actors that he is totally in tune with what is happening with the camera, with the sound, with the you know, with the lighting. And he would and I will tell him, look, what if you know, you are here, and what we see of you is a silhouette, and then at this line or whatever you think is, you know, we'll find the line with the director, with him, you do this and you change, and the lighting changes, you know, and he would just nail it, take after take, you know, scene after scene. He would just like, in the right moment, he would just and he would just look the right amount to camera, not showing, but so that we could see his eye, you know, like when the camera is behind you, you know, and there is like, it's a millimeter. If you turn too much, it's a bit cheesy. If you turn just, you know, if you don't turn enough, we don't see your eye, you know. So, and he was just like so precise, so good at his job, that, you know, and such a nice fella to work with, you know, that it was like, it was a joy, you know, one of those actors that I've been very blown away with, and
Mm.
there's a few. I've I had the privilege to work with a lot of good actors, but and Ryan is one of them.
Mm.
One of those that they give you, they leave a mark on you, as
Mm.
wow, this is great acting, and great, and being a great professional. This is also what I found is like, the better the actors are normally the most professional ones,
Yeah.
and so it's been a journey,
Mm.
working with amazing people that I
Mm.
never thought I would be
I
working with.
definitely, I definitely see it as one of Reynolds' most underrated performances because, like as you say, he's become a huge star now, and but I bet many people who are now like cinema or like film, they probably don't even know about Buried because it's obviously it
Exactly.
came out a few years ago, and he's gone on to do great things, Deadpool and things of
Yeah.
them nature, and he's done a gritty, almost one of the most different films and original films that I've ever seen, and it's crazy to think that I would say I don't. People who know film know about Buried, but how great he is in that film, I think it's probably his most underrated performance.
I have to agree with you. Yeah, I mean, the movie didn't do, especially in America, didn't do it well. It went pretty well in the UK and in Europe,
Mm,
but in America, because also talks about America, and it
mm,
doesn't, make them look that good,
mm-hmm.
and the ending is not as happy ending as people would like. in
Yeah.
Some of the people, so the movie didn't go as well, in terms of, box office and people becoming a
Mm,
mainstream film, and
mm,
also Ryan Reynolds at that point was not as successful. Maybe if that movie came out now, it would be a
mm,
lot more successful. I
mm,
agree, it's a bit underrated, his performance. I think he's brilliant in it, and I think the movie, it is, a very enjoyable ride. It's a
mm,
very fun movie to watch, and
yeah.
and it's like, every little turn, it's just
Mm,
like you are moving for, it's a lot more exciting and thrilling that people
mm.
would think a movie in a coffin is. Let's put
Yeah,
it
if you like thrillers, that it's a perfect film to watch. It's very
that.
different to what you see, and it's fantastic. My final question on Buried: would you say, because this is just what I'm thinking, you'll know more than me, was it the hardest film you had to shoot, or have you gone on to other ones that are harder?
It was very hard.
Mm,
I always say that you lose hair in every movie.
mm,
I'm getting bolder and grayer, because it's like, every movie it's hard, and every movie it's a lot of people, a difficult process. And if it's easy, it's probably because the movie is not very good. It
mm,
has to be a bit hard, just
mm-hmm,
because of the amount of elements that can go wrong. There's
mm-hmm,
always something that goes wrong,
mm-hmm,
and on Buried, I did lose a lot of hair. We were shooting on 35.
mm,
My exposure most of the times was reading EV, which is like more than 3 stops under, so, and I was taking the risk. I was like,
mm,
I was not sleeping at night thinking, how is the rashes, how are the rashes going to come out tomorrow, how do they
mm,
look, and there was a couple of hiccups on the way, but it was like, it's definitely a very hard movie to shoot,
mm,
but it was also very exciting. It was
mm,
very, that, there's something about making films that it just really, if you love the medium, if you're passionate about cinema, there's something when you're doing something special, when you're doing something unique, there's a feeling that you get from
mm,
shooting, from watching it. That's like, wow, this might be something, that will make us all proud in the
mm,
future, and that's very exciting. And so there was also that feeling that will carry us,
mm-hmm,
and an amazing director like Rodrigo. It was also like a joy, to
yeah.
work with. But hard. He knows what
Mm,
he's doing, and it's like he wants everyone to be at their top and deliver the best. So
mm-hmm,
it was really like a lot on our plate. But I think, but it's also one of the movies I'm most proud of because
mm.
of what we achieve at the end.
I
It's
agree.
a
Yeah,
combination.
yeah.
Yeah, in Catalan we say chi non arrisca no pisca, like who doesn't challenge, who doesn't take risks,
Mm.
you don't get rewards, in a
Hmm.
way. So it's a bit like this,
Yeah,
and
yeah, it's a fantastic film, and if anybody listening has not seen it, definitely go and watch it. So now you're almost, so obviously Single Man comes out, Buried comes out, and you've almost established yourself as a cinematographer in Hollywood now. It seems to me, and are you working on other things? So another something that I've not assessed, but seem to have noticed in your career just by looking online and whatever is your relationship with Joel Edgerton.
yeah.
Obviously, he's a huge, like, he's a massive actor now, director as well. And you've done his film The Gift, Boy Erased, and obviously I'm just very interested into how your relationship with him came about, because you seem to be working on many of the films that he does now. So you must have a good working relationship. Is it a friendship as well?
Yeah, Joel is an amazing actor, but and an incredible director. But on top of it, he's just like the nicest human being. So it was also like one of those people. It was also, again, a bit of luck. I was I was not working that much, and I got this offer for a short film. I was like, oh, this director seems interesting. Halamata doing this Chloe Sevigny, and um, short film in LA. And it's like, well, if they pay me the travel, I'll go and shoot it. And suddenly it happened that it was like it was just a very cool short film. And Nash Edgerton was the
Mm,
actor next to Claude
mm,
Sevigny, and he saw me working on the first day, and he's like, "Oh, I like this guy." And then on the second day, he called his brother Joel to come on set and meet me, and it's like, because, oh, Joel, and Joel had, they're very skillful Australian. These
mm,
Australians are just incredible, and they just like they've written a few scripts, they've shot a few. They were, Joe was kind of directing, I was kind of acting and producing, and he was also writing, and he wanted to direct a movie. And yeah, we met on the shoot of that short film. I was very busy, so I was like, "Hey, hi," and I
yeah.
left. But like, because I was and then suddenly a few months later, I got the script for The Gift, for the
Mm,
movie he wanted to do. Was a smaller budget that I was that I wanted to do it at that point, but also you have to give a chance. You have to
mm,
read scripts and see. At the end of the day, one of the most important things we do in our job is to choose the stories we want to tell. To choose the scripts,
mm,
and reading scripts is one of the most important jobs of our. And you have to feel a script, you have to fall in love. And all these three movies that we're talking about, I fell in love with the script.
mm,
And when you see something that it just makes you feel inside you for one reason or another, whatever it is, it's just
mm,
like that's an exciting moment of
mm,
of filmmaking.
mm,
When I read the Gift, I remember my agent was telling me, oh, it's a smaller movie that you should be doing, who knows about Joel. I was like, suddenly I read the script. I was like, wow, this script is so well written. It's so
mm,
interesting the way it goes. It's twisting my head. It's just like how, and it's like, and I could see, and then I met Joel for, to talk about the script. And suddenly I was like, wow,
mm,
this guy is so nice. He's such a filmmaker. I had the feeling of meeting a filmmaker that I wanted to be with, that I wanted
mhm.
to
Yeah.
enjoy the company of. That feeling of, oh, he's a great guy.
Mhm,
Apart from being a filmmaker, apart from being super talented, but so I said yes to the gift. I was like, yeah, I'm doing this, and it was a super, also again, short movie, 23-day shoot, but $5 million in LA, and it was pretty crazy. But with it, I'm very proud of the gift as
mm,
well. Yeah, I think it's an achievement.
mm.
It's like a movie that tells the story. The characters, and it's twisting. You think it's
Yeah.
one thing. It's not mind blowing. It's not like out of this world. It's not like. But I think it's a very subtle, clever, small movie, that,
Mm,
and I'm happy, and I'm mainly happy that I met Joel, who I
mm.
adore, I love, and he's just such a great filmmaker,
He is. I love The Gift too, but I personally prefer Boy Erased, which I watched again very recently. So I'd like to just discuss into the cinematography. That's why I brought up Joel, because I think as I said, I prefer Boy Erased, and I think it's a very well directed, very well made, very well acted film. Touches on a massively important subject matter and does it very well, I think. So what is it about Boy Erased that gives it such a simple but effective look? That's kind of like, because I don't know the technicality really of cinematography, but it is as not. I'm not comparing it to a single man, but it's very meticulous about how it's shot, and it's very grainy almost. Could you just discuss a bit on how you and Joel wanted the film to be?
yeah. Yeah, we wanted the movie, you nailed it quite well. We wanted the movie to have a life, to be a bit grainy, but to also not to show itself too much, not to be
Mm,
too showy, not to be too expressionistic, to be too over the top. We wanted it to be like a calm ride into the psyche of someone,
mm-hmm,
and and that's why also we, the way we did it, it was not like super contrasty. It was a very, subtle, soft blacks, and
mm,
not very saturated. It's kind of a state of mind in a way. It's like kind of like that feeling that the world is pushing down on you, and you are, a bit oppressed, but you don't know
mm,
exactly what it is. It's a bit like a cloudy day, that
mm-hmm,
it's like, and and that was kind of the feeling. Although the movie is set in Arkansas, in a kind of a happy-ish family kind of, so yeah, we're looking for that kind of mood, and
mm,
I think it's very different again from a lot of the movies I've done, and definitely very different from The Gift. But also we wanted, to push some of the, not do it too obvious, too on the nose, filmmaking. We wanted
mm-hmm,
to be a bit subtle, and I wish, in a way, some, being critical of myself as well. I wish I had pushed it a bit more here and
mm-hmm,
there, but it
mm-hmm,
was like, but I'm also glad that it has this kind of tonality, that it kind of survives, that
mm,
it's not pushing here and there too much. It's just
yeah.
like, but I wish I had done, you know maybe something a bit more, I don't know, like a bit some of the stuff a bit more bold,
Mm,
more going forward, going pushing it a bit more in
mm-hmm,
certain aspects, but without, in the filmmaking terms, not making it too flashy, but just
yeah.
making it a bit bold, a bit more arty in
Mm.
some here and there, But then, but what we're trying to do is also, um, you know, creating a palette of colors that were kind of
Yeah.
muted.
Definitely, you definitely feel it. And I think, well, for me, it definitely brought a sense of realism to the film a bit, and that was massively important for the subject matter of the film. For people that don't know, it's about a young boy who grows up in a very religious family. His dad's a pastor, Russell Crowe, Nicole Kidman, Lucas Hedges, and he's gay. But because they're so religious, they don't believe in it, and they basically sent him to a camp, so to speak, to basically change him. And it's very moving, and it's very sad in many moments. And I thought that was, and the sense of realism that I felt in the film through the cinematography, I think, is definitely shown and is very important for the film. So was that important for you to try and create that sense of realism for the audience?
Exactly. We wanted to be truthful to the characters, and obviously the movie is based on a book, of a
Yeah.
real person that
Mm-hmm.
he was there in the
Yeah.
creation of the movie. So but fortunately, unfortunately, we were shooting in Atlanta for
Mm.
Arkansas. So you are creating a world, based on a real world. So
Mm-hmm.
we're making a movie. At the end of the day, we are creating a world, although it's based on a different world. So,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely we wanted to be truthful. We wanted to not to deviate too much from the reality of it, you know,
Yeah.
or at least to make that feeling that what we're watching is happens, is in vogue in America. It still
Hmm.
happens in the world, unfortunately, you know. And although the movie is based in a few years ago, you know, we also wanted to feel modern and feel contemporary too, because it's still
Hmm.
happening.
Yeah. And it's a great film. I think everyone should watch it if they can. It's beautiful. Also, I noticed in the film there's a quite a lot of close-up shots used, or you're panning into the characters' faces quite a lot. Was it a conscious decision to try and get a lot of them facial expressions in to allow the audience to see what these characters are feeling, or almost try to make them feel what they're feeling?
Yes, yes. I mean, there's a conscious relationship to try to be close to them, you know, to try to, to be with them on the journey, you know. And I agree. I mean, sometimes I felt that we could be saying it on wider and so on, but it was kind of like the language we created that was like, be tight, be close to the characters, and and follow their their journey, through their faces in a way, like
Mm,
kind of at the end of the day, sometimes faces are sometimes the most interesting thing
mm,
of cinema. Sometimes, not always, but that
mm,
movie felt that the environment wasn't telling us that much, as much
mm,
as their faces, as
mm,
their as who they are, who we are living with.
mm. And I think it's important. Obviously, if you're doing that, you have great acting performances, and I think that is a very, very well acted film, and you captured their emotions very, very well in the film. And I think it's, as I said, it's hard, at times hard to watch, and it's hard to understand that this is obviously has actually happened to someone. But it's a film that I urge everyone to see, because it's important for them to see it, I think.
No, absolutely. That was one of the feelings while making the film, was we're making an important film, and even
Mm,
no one sees it, but one person that the story brings back home, like that
mm,
it's true to themselves,
yeah.
and changes that person. That would be enough, and that's also
Mm,
something important of what we do. Like we are
mhm,
communicating to the world ideas and concepts and feelings and emotions, and
mm,
if you can help someone, I'll be very pleased. So
yeah.
I felt always very good. And with what you were saying about working with that, obviously, again, working with amazing actors like Lucas Hedges, Nicole Kidman, it's like, and Russell Crowe, it's like, wow, it's like
Yeah.
unbelievable that, suddenly I'm working, coming from
Yeah.
Barcelona, watching them all my
Mm,
lives on the TV, and suddenly that I'm working with those guys,
mm.
and
It
my
still
mom.
seems sorry. It still seems to me that you're still quite shocked, or you're still quite grounded when you get to meet all these people. Like, you get to meet these actors, because you're fully fledged into the industry now, and you still get so excited to work with these different people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to work with anyone that
Mm,
that I respect,
yeah.
that I respect as a person, and as a creative process. I'm very, and there's a lot of amazing people out there, and it's always exciting to work with, some people that you call heroes, that you
Yeah.
respect. That's always like, it's one of the joys of being alive. Meeting people that have crafted your path, that you've respected, that you've
Mm,
grown up with, and they're like, and that they've done something amazing.
mm-hmm.
So for me, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't get overexcited with,
Yeah.
they're normal people, and the whole thing is treating them. What they miss the most is to be treated
Mm-hmm.
like normal,
Mm-hmm.
because they are all day treated like stars, and that's what they don't like. So I treat them very normally, and
Mm-hmm.
I make jokes with them, and uh, but I'm also, excited to be able to do that, to
Mm-hmm.
be in that, of doing that, and
Yeah.
so it's kind of, yeah, it's It's kind of fun,
Yeah,
obviously.
I'm sure. I'm sure it is. Again, watch if you've not seen it. Watch Boy Erased, and then moving on to actually what is my favourite film of yours is The Way Back. I watched it obviously very recently. It came out in 2020. It's a drama about a recovering alcoholic. Ben Affleck stars in it, and he coaches his ex high school basketball team. And I think the big question for me is well, the first one is obviously Gavin O'Connor directs it. He's very known for his sporting dramas. Warrior is one of the best sporting dramas of this century, and it's an amazing film. So, were you excited to work with him? Because obviously, I don't know if you're into sport or whatever, but it'd be something I'd be massively excited to work with someone who's so known for sporting dramas.
So yes, I mean it's a combination. I think
Yeah,
it was like again, it was actually Joel who introduced me to Gavin. Because
yeah.
Joel had done
I was going to
Warrior.
ask that. I was going to ask that. Was it Joel Hood? Because obviously he starred in Warrior. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, and Gavin was like, oh, yeah, he was looking for a DP for this movie, and I've never been a huge fan of sports dramas.
Mm-hmm.
It's never been like my thing. I watch them, but it's not the kind of but when I read the script, I saw that there was like a potential of something, and I also really like Gavin's vision,
Mm,
aesthetically, and he's obsessed about capturing life,
mm,
capturing pieces of reality that they bring true,
mm,
and we had a great meeting and we hit it up, and it's a completely different style of what I done. It's maybe a bit more similar to Suffragette or something,
mm.
but it's like it's very different from Boy Erased. It's
Yeah.
actually much the opposite, but it's also that's what I like about being a filmmaker and
Mm-hmm.
being trying to tell the stories in different ways, and
Mm,
working with different people and getting different stuff. I don't want
mm.
to do all the time the same thing. You
Yeah.
get bored. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's like I have huge respect for Gavin. He's done amazing films, and I thought also I could bring something to it. I could
Yeah.
bring, it's a very American story and a
Mm,
very, but I could also, bring some a bit more of an European taste on things, and a bit
mm-hmm.
more, you know, less American Warner Bros. Movie, which is what it is. Ben
Yeah.
Affleck. No, and what I'm proud of, what we did is that it's like this movie could have been, had a lot of elements to be that could have been a very cheesy,
Yeah.
you know, fake, bright and average movie, and suddenly we with what we did visually, the way we shot it with the camera, with the light, it completely become something else,
Yeah.
which it was more in tone with the 70s look, with the
Mm,
and using the darkness and the light,
mm,
and the camera and the framing and the handheld and the grain in
mm.
ways that they create something that that I like what we did. I think we did something that it looks what it needed the movie to look,
Yeah.
and to deviate it from that Hollywood glossy
Yeah.
look that that I really didn't want to do.
Yeah. I agree, and it seemed like everybody was on. Not seem like it. You can clearly tell that it's not, as you said, that glossy Hollywood style, and that's very from the films that I've seen Ben Affleck in. It's very different. But I read up a lot how this movie is very deeply personal to Ben Affleck, and it seems like the vision between you, Gavin O'Connor, Ben Affleck was all on the same page because of how personal it was to Ben Affleck, who I think for me it probably is my favorite film that I've ever seen him in terms of an acting role. I thought he was actually really superb in this film, and it seemed like everything worked in a very good tandem.
Agree that Ben was also a surprise for the crew. We've seen him so much in those kind of roles
Mm,
throughout his career, that suddenly seeing him in a lot more a lot more broken,
yeah,
hard, but but I also think that there is the kind of different moods and challenges he faces in acting are incredible. You know, he
Mm,
sometimes he's always witty and interesting and likable. You know, that's
mm,
a great skill for an actor to have, probably one
mm-hmm.
of the best. You know, so he's always had that. You know, you like him, you know,
Yeah.
but he can be in the movie, can be really sad, can be angry, can be furious, but also, you know, can be subtle, can be
Mm,
funny, you know, and it's like can be sexy and seductive, you know. So
mm,
it's like it's kind of it's a very great role, and I think he
mm,
did very well playing it. I think I agree that it's one of the most interesting in his career. And
mm.
you know, the wish was to, you know, that maybe he could go all the way to the awards. I mean, he was unlucky with the pandemic and the release that
Yeah.
it just suddenly just like but he's out there. I think he's one of the great performances of 2020, and I don't know if it's going to be recognized, but it's
Mm,
like it's surprising. And I think again there's a lot of, you know, stereotypes or
yeah.
preconceived ideas of what Ben Affleck is, and I think
Mm,
and this movie breaks a lot of them, you know. And I
mm,
think I have huge respect for him as an actor. I think he is a true professional, and one of those, again, like Ryan, one of those
mm,
actors that surprised me
mm,
very greatly, you know. And you know, and that's something I
yeah.
really take home, you know, that it's like, you know, never take for granted who that person or the
Yeah.
other, you know, you just like there's always surprises to come. There
Yeah.
was like, and yeah, he was, you know, Ben Affleck as a star as he is, and as you know, everyone knows, and you know, they stars suffer that thing that's like that's always striking to me. That's like they walk into a room and suddenly everyone is looking at them.
Yeah.
Everyone is like, you know, and
Mm,
it's like it must be hard to be that
mm,
person. It must,
yeah.
you know, and so you want people to treat you normal, and you want people to respect you, but work and let you and make you have fun. And I think we created an environment for him to shine, you know,
Yeah.
and obviously that was his movie for
Mm,
that. And I think
mm-hmm.
Gavin encapsulated very well that
Mm,
moment of his life
yeah.
in that movie, you know. And you know, and obviously being so close to his personal story also gave a different level
Yeah.
of to the movie, that it's also makes it, you know, one more level, one more step deeper or profound, you know, on what it is, you know. So
I completely agree. You can you definitely feel it. I liked what you touched on about how the preconceived ideas are a lot of these actors, and they like to break that sometimes. But for a lot of people who probably everyone knows who Ben Affleck is, but they won't have ever seen him in a role like this really, because before, obviously, through the 2010s, so to speak, he was Batman for a lot of it, and he was doing these blockbusters. And I love how you've made, well, you, Gavin, Ben, all them people, that you've made it into, as you said, not a Hollywood glossy film, but a almost a not so grainy, but a deeply personal story that it's just focusing on the story. If you get what I mean, it's not about, um, as you said, the Hollywood gloss. It's about this person, what's happening in his life, and you all captured that, and it's captured brilliantly on film.
it's a character study, you know. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, I always love those movies, you know, that are one character and you get into their psyche and you get into their heads and you get into, you know, the way they feel and touch stuff, you know. And that's always the movies I always wanted to do, and that I'm always more connected to, you know. So,
Yeah.
you know, I hope I can be doing more of those, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure you will be, and it's that's coming on to my last few final questions. And again, watch the way back; it's fantastic. But so I'm just gonna my last few questions is like your upcoming work. Have you got films that are coming out? I've read something that you've done a Rebecca Hall film.
Yeah.
That's to come out soon, and then just any other work that you can talk about. I mean, I'm not sure if you're allowed to talk about all the films you might have been working on either. So,
No, I mean, my last movie is Passing, a movie
mm,
with Rebecca Hall directing, and Tessa Thompson, Rudney Gabilkam, Alexander Skarsgård on it.
mm,
And it's completely different from anything I've done. It's a black and
yeah,
white uh,
wow,
4:3 movie. of 1930s Harlem,
Cool.
based on a book. So it's like, and it's coming out now in Sundance 2021, so
Mm.
hopefully we'll the theaters ideally, or the screens near you
Yeah.
soon, but yeah, I mean, it's a very beautiful little movie, that we did in New York last year, and it was and yeah, I mean, I'm very proud of it. And again, it's a total deviation of what I've done. It's black and
Mm.
white, and it's 4:3, and and it's I have it close to my heart. I like it a lot. I think it could be something, But
Mm.
again, I haven't seen it with people. I've only seen it myself on at home, So it's like it's always difficult to judge,
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
But
I'm very excited for that. So I can't wait to see it whenever it comes out. I mean, cinemas unfortunately aren't open here, so I'm very frustrated and very annoyed about that at the moment. So I'm hoping that will hopefully change soon with the vaccinations and everything. So I've got one final question. It's just a personal one. If there's one director that you out there right now who you could work with, who would you want to work with, if you could choose?
it's a tough one. It's
Yeah, I
like,
know. I put you on the spot a bit.
there's so many brilliant directors, that I cannot, I would love to work with Fincher. I would love to work with P.T. Anderson. I would love to work with Joel Cohen.
Mm,
Uh, um, I would love, to work with Andrea Arnold, or Dean Ramsey. There's so many that I adore.
yeah.
But I'm also happy to have worked with people as talented as Joel or Tom or Gavin.
Yeah.
Or like so many, or even Sarah Gabron, or Rebecca.
Mm,
So it's like, yeah, I'm grateful of the people I work, and if I can keep working with people, that I admire, I'll be happy.
mm,
So,
yeah.
of course, we all want to do masterpieces, but masterpieces come from somewhere.
Yeah.
It's always a surprise. It's always where the great movies.
Mm,
They're never like super obvious. They always come as a surprise. So I'm
mm,
happy. What I need to keep doing is working very hard,
mm.
where having a vision of the films I make, and choosing good scripts, good people to work with, and hopefully I'll be very lucky if I can keep doing this.
Yeah.
Or,
Fine words. Again, please check out Edu's films. They are fantastic. Each one that I've laid out here are great. He shoots them absolutely brilliantly, and he's got more as well. These are just my personal favourites. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much, Edu, for coming on.
Thank you. A real pleasure, man.
I'm the Cinemascope. Follow me on Instagram _ the Cinemascope. And this is season 2, episode 2. I'll be doing more very, very soon. Thank you very much.